Emperor Zalthor the Magnificent sat upon his impossible throne and read the report for the third time. The words did not change. The truth remained ugly. Grand Admiral Tholvan's message was clear. The war was unwinnable. Not because the Valorian Empire lacked ships or soldiers, but because the cost of victory was too high. 25,000 ships sent, 13,000 destroyed, thousands more damaged, tens of thousands of soldiers dead. The economic strain was breaking the empire, food shipments delayed, trade disrupted, allies questioning imperial judgment, and worst of all, the humans still fought. How many human ships remain? The emperor asked his advisors. The military counselor checked his data tablet. Our best estimate is 73 ships, my emperor, down from their original 300. We have won every major engagement. And yet we have lost 13,000 vessels. Silence fell over the throne room. No one wanted to state the obvious. The Valorian Empire was winning battles but losing the war. There is another matter, my emperor, the diplomatic counselor said nervously. The humans have sent messages to every major species in the galaxy. They have shared footage of destroyed human colonies, images of civilian casualties. They are claiming we started an unprovoked war of aggression. We issued a lawful ultimatum. Yes, my emperor. But the humans are asking why we had the right to demand their territory. They claim they colonized uninhabited systems legally. They say we attacked because they refused to surrender to threats. The emperor's scales rippled with anger. And the other species, what do they say? Many are sympathetic to the human position. They see a small young species defending itself against a vast empire. The narrative is not favorable to us. Emperor Zalthor stood abruptly. His advisors flinched. When the emperor stood in anger, someone usually lost their position, or their life. Where is Keeper Salmeth? In the archives, my emperor. Should we summon him? No. I will go to him. The throne room erupted in whispered shock. The emperor had not left the palace complex in decades. For him to personally visit the archives was unprecedented. 20 minutes later, Emperor Zalthor entered the vast imperial archives. Keeper Salmeth was waiting, unsurprised. The ancient Valorian bowed as much as his aged body allowed. My emperor, I wondered when you would come. You knew the humans would do this, you warned me. I tried to, yes. Tell me honestly, Keeper, can we win this war? Salmeth gestured to a chair. The emperor sat. The keeper settled across from him, two old beings contemplating a disaster. Can you win militarily? Yes. You have more ships, more resources, more soldiers. Eventually you will destroy every human vessel. You will occupy every human world. Salmeth paused. But will you survive the victory? That is the question. Explain. The humans have promised to launch their doomsday weapons if we threaten their homeworld. 1,000 nuclear-armed ships controlled by artificial intelligence targeted at our most important worlds, including Valor Prime. Can our defenses stop them all? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But even if we stop 99%, 10 ships get through. 10 nuclear weapons striking our cities. Millions dead. The Emperor's hands clenched. We could strike Earth first, destroy their homeworld before they launch. Could you? Salmeth asked quietly. The humans have hidden their launch facilities. We do not know where all of them are. And if you attack Earth, the survivors will launch everything they have. Not just at Valor Prime, at every Valorian world. They will accept their own extinction to ensure ours. Madness. Yes, human madness, but effective madness. Salmeth pulled up a hologram. My Emperor, you asked if we can win. The better question is, what do we win? We gain 47 systems that the humans have already rigged to self-destruct. We gain nothing but ash and ruins. We lose 13,000 ships and counting. We lose our reputation. We lose our allies' trust. We create an enemy that will hate us for generations. What exactly have we won? Emperor Zalthor stared at the hologram showing human territory, such a small part of the galaxy. Why had he thought it was worth this cost? Pride, he said finally. I cannot withdraw because of pride. The Empire does not negotiate with those who defy us. Then pride will destroy the Empire. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms blared throughout the palace. Out. Emergency sirens wailed. The Emperor's communication device lit up with urgent messages. What is happening? He demanded. A military advisor's face appeared on screen, pale with fear. My Emperor, you must return to the palace immediately. We have detected a fleet in our home system, inside our defenses. What fleet? How many ships? Human ships, my Emperor. 150 vessels. They appeared at the edge of the system through some kind of stealth jump. Our sensors did not detect them until they dropped their cloaking. 150 ships? We have 5,000 ships defending Valor Prime. Destroy them. My Emperor, they have sent a message. They are requesting to speak with you. They say if we attack, they will launch their doomsday weapons. All of them. At Valor Prime. The Emperor's blood went cold. The humans were here. At his homeworld. With weapons pointed at billions of Valorian civilians. Get me Admiral Tholvan. He is not available, my Emperor. He is still in human territory with the main fleet. Then get me the human commander. Now. Minutes later, a face appeared on the view screen. Admiral Jessica Chen. She looked older than the last time she had been photographed. War had aged her, but her eyes were still sharp, still determined. Emperor Zalthor, she said with a slight nod. Thank you for speaking with me. You dare bring weapons to my homeworld? You threaten my people? This is an act of war. With respect, Emperor, we have been at war for 5 months. A war you started. Chen's voice was calm, professional. And I am not here to threaten your people. I am here to end this war. By holding a weapon to my planet, by making you understand the stakes. Emperor, we have 150 ships here. You have 5,000 defending Valor Prime. You can destroy us. But before we die, we will launch every doomsday weapon we brought. Nuclear warheads, biological weapons, relativistic missiles, everything. Aimed at your cities, your shipyards, your infrastructure. Can you stop all of them? Maybe, but probably not. The Emperor wanted to order an attack, wanted to destroy these arrogant humans who dared to threaten his world. But he saw the truth in Chen's eyes. She was not bluffing. If he attacked, she would launch everything. Millions would die. What do you want? He asked quietly. Peace. Immediate ceasefire. Withdrawal of all Valorian forces from human territory. Reparations for the worlds you destroyed. And a non-aggression treaty lasting 1,000 years. Impossible. The Valorian. Empire does not surrender. This is not surrender, Emperor. This is negotiation. You want us gone from your homeworld? Agree to our terms. We will leave peacefully. The war ends. Both our peoples can start rebuilding. And if I refuse, then we all die today. You, me, and billions of civilians on Valor Prime. Is your pride worth that many lives? The Emperor looked at Keeper Salmuth, who had followed him back to the palace. The ancient keeper nodded slowly. The message was clear. Accept the terms. How did you get here? The Emperor demanded. How did you penetrate our defenses? Chen smiled slightly. Humans are good at finding ways to do impossible things. We studied your defensive network, found the weaknesses, exploited them. It was not easy. We lost many ships getting here, but we made it. You have 73 ships left. You brought 150 here. That means humanity's entire military fleet is here at your homeworld, betting everything on this moment. Yes. We committed everything to this one attack. If you destroy us now, humanity loses its military, but you lose your homeworld. Both our species crippled, or we can both walk away. The throne room was silent. Every advisor, every guard, every observer understood what was happening. The humans had made an insane gamble. They had brought their entire remaining fleet to the enemy capital. They were either brilliant or suicidal. The Emperor suspected they were both. You said you wanted peace, the Emperor said slowly. But you brought doomsday weapons to my world. You threaten my people. That does not sound like peace. We brought weapons because that is the only language you understand, Chen replied. For 5 months we tried to show you that we would not surrender. We fought in every system. We died by the thousands, but you kept coming, so we had to make you understand in terms you could not ignore. We had to threaten what you value most. And what do I value most? Your people. Your home world. Your legacy. Chen leaned forward. Emperor, you started this war because you thought we were weak. Because you thought our small fleet meant we were easy prey. But you forgot something. Humans do not measure strength in ships. We measure it in will. And our will is unbreakable. Your will has cost you thousands of lives. Yes, and it has cost you more. We lost 200 ships. You lost 13,000. We lost dozens of colonies. You lost your reputation. We sacrificed much, but you sacrificed more. Chen's voice hardened. Emperor, this war was a mistake. Admit it, end it. Let both our peoples survive. The Emperor looked at his advisors. All of them avoided his gaze. They knew the truth. The war was lost. Not militarily, but strategically. The Empire could destroy the human fleet here and now, but the cost would be catastrophic. If I agree to your terms, the Emperor said carefully, what guarantee do I have that you will honor them? What prevents you from attacking us again in the future? Nothing, Chen admitted. Just as nothing prevents you from attacking us. Treaties are built on trust, or at least on mutual understanding. You understand now that humans will fight to extinction if threatened. We understand that the Valorian Empire has the power to destroy us if we break the peace. Both of us have learned expensive lessons. Perhaps we can learn from them. Keeper Salmuth stepped forward. My Emperor, if I may speak? The Emperor nodded. Admiral Chen is offering you a way out. A way to end this war without losing more ships or soldiers. Yes, you must withdraw from human territory. Yes, you must pay reparations. But you keep your empire. You keep your people. You keep your homeworld. Is that not worth more than pride? The Emperor sat on his throne, feeling the weight of 12,000 years of imperial history. The Valorian Empire had never retreated, never surrendered, never negotiated as equals with lesser species. But the Valorian Empire had never fought humans before. I want modifications to your terms, the Emperor said finally. I am listening. You demand reparations. I will pay them, but not as punishment. As compensation for damages, frame it as restitution, not tribute. Agreed. You demand a 1,000-year non-aggression treaty. I will sign it. But in exchange, humanity agrees to respect imperial borders. No expansion into systems we have marked for colonization. We will respect your borders if you respect ours. Agreed. And finally, this treaty will not be presented as human victory or Valorian defeat. It will be presented as a mutual peace agreement between equals. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Between equals, yes, we can agree to that. The Emperor stood. Then we have terms. My military command will arrange the details. Your fleet will leave Valor Prime within 24 hours. Our forces will begin withdrawing from human space immediately. Thank you, Emperor Zalthor. You have made the right choice. The transmission ended. The throne room remained silent. Then, slowly, advisors began to move. To implement the peace agreement. To end the war. The Emperor sat back down heavily. Keeper Salmuth approached and bowed. You were right, Keeper. About all of it. I wish I had been wrong, my Emperor. What happens now? Now we rebuild. We learn. We remember why the ancient scouts told us to avoid humans, and we make sure future emperors read those warnings. 1 year later, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of a human space station. Earth floated below, blue and green and beautiful. The war was over. The treaties signed. Valorian forces had withdrawn. Reparations had been paid. Humanity had survived. A door opened behind her. Keeper Salmuth entered, moving slowly on his hover platform. Chen turned and smiled. Keeper, welcome to human space. I did not expect to see you again. I wanted to thank you, Admiral, for showing mercy. Mercy? You could have destroyed Valor Prime. Your weapons were armed. Your ships were in position. You could have killed billions and crippled the Empire, but you did not. Chen looked back at Earth. We are not monsters, Keeper. We fight like monsters when we must, but we are still human, still capable of mercy, still capable of choosing life over death. The Emperor does not understand that. He thinks you spared us out of weakness. Let him think what he wants. I know the truth. We spared Valor Prime because destroying it would have made us the very thing we were fighting against. We would have become the aggressors, the butchers, the empire that slaughters billions for political gain. Salmeth moved closer to the window. You humans are strange, capable of such violence, but also such restraint. That is what makes us human. We can be both. The question is always which one we choose to be. They stood together in silence, looking at Earth, the planet that had birthed humanity, the Class 12 death world that had forged the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Will there be more wars? Salmeth asked. Probably. Humans will always find reasons to fight, but not with the Valorian Empire. Not for 1,000 years at least. We have both learned our lesson. What lesson is that? Chen smiled. You learned why you should never provoke a death world species. And we learned that surviving a war is not the same as winning it. Both lessons cost us dearly. Salmeth prepared to leave. At the door he paused. Admiral, there is one thing I must know. That message you sent me during the first battle. You tried. What did it mean? You tried to warn the Emperor. You tried to prevent the war. You tried to make him understand what humans were. You failed, but you tried. I wanted you to know that I saw your efforts, that I respected them. The old keeper's scales rippled with emotion. Thank you, Admiral, for seeing, for understanding, and for sparing my people when you had every right to destroy them. After he left, Chen remained at the window. Ships moved in orbit, human and Valorian side by side now, trading, talking, learning to coexist. Below, on Earth, children played in parks. Soldiers returned to their families. Cities rebuilt. Life continued. Humanity had gone to war with an empire that controlled 800 star systems. And humanity had survived, not through superior numbers or better technology, but through sheer refusal to surrender, through willingness to sacrifice everything rather than submit. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were dangerous, but they were also capable of mercy, of restraint, of choosing peace when vengeance would have been easier. In the years that followed, the story of the human-Valorian War spread across the galaxy. It became legend, a warning and a lesson, the tale of the small species that fought an empire and made them respect human space. The phrase, "Do not wake the humans," entered galactic common language, a reminder that some species, no matter how small or young, should never be underestimated. And in the Imperial Archives on Valor Prime, Keeper Salmeth added a new entry to the Death World Chronicles. It read, Updated Assessment Species Human Classification Apex Predator, Threat Level, Extinction Class, however, also capable of mercy, honor, and peace. Recommendation, maintain diplomatic relations. Respect territorial boundaries. Never provoke, but if cooperation is offered, accept it. Humans make terrifying enemies but valuable allies, the choice of which they become is ours to make. 50 years passed. The Valorian Empire prospered. Human space expanded peacefully. The treaty held, and sometimes on quiet nights, old soldiers from both sides would meet in neutral stations. They would share drinks and stories. They would remember fallen friends. They would look at the stars and feel grateful to be alive, because both sides had learned the same lesson. War is easy to start. Peace is hard to maintain, but peace is always worth fighting for. And when younger species asked about the war, the old soldiers would shake their heads and say the same thing, Valorian and human alike. We learned why myths are feared, and we learned why mercy matters more than victory. The galaxy listened and remembered. Commander Thexriel stood on the bridge of the Starlight Eternal, watching the displays with growing dread. The screens showed something that should not exist. A tear in space itself, bleeding purple and black energy across the void. It was growing larger with each passing moment. All ships, emergency stop, Thexriel commanded, her 4 hands moving across the control panels. Her silver skin reflected the warning lights that now filled the bridge. Pull back to safe distance. But it was already too late. The quantum rift, as the science officers were calling it, expanded like a hungry mouth. The edge of the tear touched the outermost scout ship, the Morning Wind. Thexriel watched in horror as the small vessel's lights flickered and died. The ship went dark in seconds. Morning Wind, report. She called into the communications array. Static. Then a weak voice. Commander, our power is gone. The antimatter core just stopped. Everything is failing. We are on emergency batteries only. Thexerial felt her blood turn cold. The antimatter cores that powered Calathi ships were the most reliable technology in the galaxy. They did not just stop. They could not just stop. All ships, reverse thrust, maximum power. Get us away from that thing, she ordered. The fleet tried to pull back, but the rift was faster. It swept over them like a wave, and one by one the ships began to die. Power systems failed. Engines went silent. The mighty Calathi Expeditionary Fleet, 47 ships carrying 200,000 souls, was being swallowed by the impossible. Thexerial had commanded this fleet for 12 cycles. She had explored 17 new star systems. She had met 3 alien species and established peaceful trade with all of them. The Calathi were an old race, proud and strong. They had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Nothing could stop them, until now. Science Officer Vorath, report. What is this thing? Thexerial demanded. Vorath, an elderly male with deep blue markings on his silver skin, looked up from his station. His face showed fear, and that frightened Thexerial more than anything. Vorath had seen everything in his long career. Nothing scared him. Commander, the rift is tearing through subspace. It is draining energy from anything nearby. Our antimatter cores are being pulled into another dimension. The rift is feeding on them, Vorath said, his voice shaking slightly. Can we seal it? Collapse it? Thexerial asked. No, Commander. We would need more power than the entire fleet possesses, and we are losing power by the moment. Thexerial looked at the display showing the fleet status. 30 ships were already on emergency power only. 10 more were failing fast. Only 7 ships, including the Starlight Eternal, still had partial main power. And even that was draining away. How long do we have? She asked quietly. Vorath checked his instruments. 72 hours, Commander. Maybe less. When the emergency batteries fail, life support will shut down. We will freeze, then suffocate. 200,000 people, families, children, scientists, engineers, soldiers, all of them depending on her to find a solution. Send distress signals. All frequencies. Maximum power, Thexerial commanded. Contact our nearest allies. The communications officer, a young female named Citrix, worked quickly. Signals sent, Commander. But our nearest allies are 3 weeks away at maximum speed. Even if they left immediately, she did not need to finish. 3 weeks was far too long. Thexerial sat in her command chair, feeling the weight of command like never before. She had to think. There had to be something they could do. Commander, Vorath said suddenly, there is something strange in this region. More strange than a quantum rift killing us? Thexerial asked with dark humor. Yes, actually. According to the old star charts, we are near the edge of the cradle zone. Thexerial sat up straight. The Forbidden Sector? Every Calathi child learned about the cradle zone in school. 50,000 years ago, before the Calathi had even developed spaceflight, there had been a great war in this region. 2 ancient civilizations had fought and both had destroyed each other. The sector had been poisoned with radiation and dangerous technology. It was marked as forbidden on all star charts. Why would you bring this up now? Thexerial asked. Because I am detecting energy signatures from inside the zone. Faint ones. Very primitive compared to our technology. But they are there. Someone lives in the cradle zone, Commander. Someone survived. Thexerial stood and walked to Vorath's station. She looked at the readings. He was right. There were energy signatures. They looked like crude fusion reactions, simple radio waves, basic propulsion systems. Nothing impressive by Calathi standards. But they were signs of life. Signs of civilization. Could they help us? She asked. Vorath tilted his head, thinking. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours, Commander. I doubt they could even understand our distress signal, much less respond to it. But they have power. We need power. Even primitive power is better than none. Thexerial made her decision. It was risky. The cradle zone was forbidden for good reasons, but her people were dying. Citrix, modify our distress signal. Make it simpler. Use basic mathematical sequences, universal patterns. Make it so simple that even a species with early radio technology could understand it. Yes, Commander. But what do we say? Say we are dying. Say we need help. Say please. The word felt strange. The Calathi did not beg. But pride meant nothing to dead people. Citrix worked for an hour, creating a new message. It was simple. It showed the Calathi fleet's position, the number of ships, the number of people. It showed their power failing. It showed a countdown timer. 72 hours. Sending now, Commander, Citrix said, broadcasting on all primitive frequencies. The message flew out into the darkness toward the cradle zone, toward whoever lived there. Hours passed. The fleet continued to die slowly. Engineers worked desperately to slow the power drain, but it was like trying to stop water with their hands. The rift kept pulling energy away. Thexriel walked through the ship, visiting different sections. She saw families huddled together, trying to stay warm as the heating systems were turned down to save power. She saw children playing in the dim corridors, not understanding how much danger they were in. She saw engineers with exhausted faces, working on systems they could not truly fix. In the medical bay, she found Dr. Laris treating crew members for cold exposure and stress. The doctor looked up as Thexriel entered. Commander, we are seeing more cases every hour. Hypothermia is beginning. If we cannot get more power to the heating system soon, people will start dying before the air runs out, Laris said. I know, Doctor. We are doing everything we can. Are we going to die out here, Commander? Laris asked quietly. It was the question everyone wanted to ask but were too afraid to voice. Thexriel looked at the doctor. She could lie. She could give false hope. But Laris deserved the truth. I do not know, Thexriel said. I sent a message to someone in the cradle zone. Someone lives there. Maybe they can help. The cradle zone? Commander, that is forbidden. The stories say terrible things live there. The stories were written 50,000 years ago. Things change. Maybe whoever lives there now is different. Or maybe the stories were true, Laris said. But then the doctor straightened. But we have no choice, do we? We hope the stories were wrong, or we die knowing they were right. I prefer hope. Thexriel nodded. As do I. She returned to the bridge. 40 hours had passed since they entered the rift. 32 hours remained. More than half their time was gone. Any response to our signal? She asked Citrix. Nothing, Commander. Just silence. Thexriel felt hope slipping away. Maybe there was no one there. Maybe the energy signatures were just automated systems, running for thousands of years with no one to operate them. 24 hours remaining. The cold was becoming dangerous now. 3 people had died from hypothermia. More were sick. The medical bays were full. 12 hours remaining. 15 people dead. Power at 5% across the fleet. The Starlight Eternal was one of only 3 ships still capable of basic operations. 6 hours remaining. 41 dead. People were huddling together for warmth. Some were writing final messages to loved ones in other parts of the galaxy, knowing the messages would never be sent. Thexriel sat on the bridge watching the countdown. She had failed. She had led 200,000 people to their deaths in the dark, cold void of space. Commander! Citrix suddenly shouted. I have something. A signal, it is responding. Thexriel jumped to her feet. What? Who? Unknown species, Commander. They are using basic fusion signatures, very primitive compared to us. But they are answering. They are coming. Show me. The display lit up. A single small ship was moving toward them from the cradle zone. It was tiny, barely larger than a Kalathi shuttle. Its design was strange, with asymmetric hull plating and what looked like external repair patches. The ship moved on simple fusion thrust, slow and steady. That little ship? What can it do? Vorath asked. I do not care if it can do nothing, Thexriel said. They came. They heard us crying for help and they came. That is more than anyone else did. She opened a communication channel. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Thexriel of the Kalathi Expeditionary Fleet. We thank you for responding. We are in desperate need of assistance. Static filled the channel. Then a voice speaking a language the translator struggled with. The words came through broken and strange. Kalathi ship. This is cargo vessel Prairie Runner. Captain Maria Santos. We hear you. Coming to help. Hold on. The translator was working hard, piecing together the alien language. It was like nothing in the Kalathi database. Captain Santos, we have limited time. Our power systems are failing. We know, the voice interrupted. We got your math message. Smart idea. We are bringing equipment. Our ship is small, but we will do what we can. The small vessel approached the fleet. Thexriel could see it better now on the visual display. It was old, patched together from different parts, but it was moving with purpose, heading straight for the medical frigate Gentle Healer, which was in the worst condition. Captain Santos, what are you planning? Thexriel asked. We are going to get your people out, Santos replied. The ones in most danger. We will take them aboard our ship. Your ship is too small. It cannot hold more than 100 people, and we have 200,000. Then we will make trips, and we already called for more help. More ships are coming. More ships? How many? There was a pause. Then Santos spoke again, and Thexriel heard something in the alien captain's voice. Determination. Stubbornness. Absolute refusal to give up. All of them, Santos said. We called everyone. They are coming. Thexriel felt something she had not felt in days. Hope. Captain Maria Santos had been hauling mining equipment through the outer veil for 3 years. It was boring work, lonely work, but it paid well enough to keep her small crew fed and the prairie runner flying. The ship was old, a patchwork of salvaged parts and creative repairs, but it was home. She had just finished her 3rd cup of coffee that morning when the signal came through. "Captain, you need to hear this," said Tommy Chen, her communications officer. He was young, barely 23, with quick hands and a talent for fixing things that should not work. "What is it, Tommy? Another mining station asking for spare parts?" "No, Captain. It is something else. Something weird. Listen." Tommy played the signal. It was not like any distress call Maria had ever heard. There were no words, just patterns. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, simple equations, then images rendered in basic digital format. Ships, lots of ships, then numbers, big numbers, then a countdown timer. "What the hell is this?" Maria asked. Her engineer, a gruff woman named Ruth Park, who had seen 40 years of space service, leaned over to look at the screen. "That is a distress call, Captain. A really desperate one. Someone out there is dying and they do not think we can understand their normal language, so they are using math." "Where is it coming from?" Maria asked. "Edge of the cradle zone," Tommy said. His voice went quiet. "The forbidden sector." Everyone on the bridge went silent. The cradle zone was not supposed to have anything alive in it. It was a dead region, poisoned by an ancient war. Human ships were supposed to stay away. Maria looked at the images again. Ships, 200,000 people according to the numbers, all dying. The countdown showed less than 6 hours remaining. "How far away are they?" she asked. 4 hours at maximum burn, Ruth said. "But Captain, regulations say we cannot enter the cradle zone. It is forbidden." "Regulations also say we must respond to distress signals," Maria countered. "From human ships, yes, but this is not human. Look at those ship designs. This is alien, Captain. First contact with an unknown species. We are supposed to report it to Fleet Command and wait for orders." Maria looked at the countdown again. 6 hours. If they reported it and waited for orders, those people would be dead before anyone could respond. "How long to get a response from Fleet Command?" she asked Tommy. "Out here? Maybe 8 hours if they prioritize it." 8 hours. Too late. Maria had spent 30 years in space. She had seen asteroids crush ships. She had watched good people die because help arrived 5 minutes too late. She had made hard choices before, but this was different. This was first contact. Meeting aliens for the first time. It should be done properly with protocols and diplomats and careful planning, but those people had 6 hours. "Ruth, can we help them?" Maria asked. "Is there anything we can do with what we have?" Ruth studied the signal images, looking at the alien ships. "Their power systems are failing. I cannot tell exactly what kind of power they use, but if we can get close enough, maybe we can jury-rig some kind of connection. Lend them some of our fusion power. It would not be much, but it might buy them time." "Tommy, send a response. Use the same mathematical format they used. Tell them we are coming." "Captain, if we do this without authorization," Tommy started. "Then we will deal with the consequences later," Maria interrupted. "Those people need help now. We are going in." She turned to Ruth. "Maximum burn. Get us there as fast as possible, and start preparing whatever equipment you think we might need." "Aye, Captain," Ruth said with a slight smile. "I always wanted to meet aliens anyway." The prairie. Runner turned toward the cradle zone and accelerated. Maria sat in her captain's chair, her hands gripping the armrests. She was about to break a dozen regulations, risk her ship and crew, and possibly start an interstellar incident. But she would not let 200,000 people die while she waited for permission to help. 3 hours later, they emerged from the quantum wake near the alien fleet. Maria had seen many things in her years in space, but nothing like this. The ships were beautiful, sleek and silver, shaped like crescents and spirals. Each one was covered in intricate patterns that might have been decoration or might have served some technical purpose. They were clearly built by an advanced civilization far beyond human technology, but they were dying. Most of the ships were dark, their lights dim or extinguished entirely. They drifted in the void, powerless and silent. "Mother of God," Tommy whispered. "There are so many of them." "Scan for life signs," Maria ordered. "Picking up heat signatures on most ships," Tommy reported. "They are cold, really cold, but people are still alive. Barely." "Ruth, can we help them?" "Their technology is way beyond ours, Captain. I cannot even understand half of what I am seeing on the scans. But power is power. If I can get close enough to one of their ships, I can try to connect our fusion generator to their systems. It will be messy and dangerous, but it might work." "Do it. Target the ship that looks to be in the worst condition. We will save who we can." Maria opened a communication channel, hoping their translator could make sense of the alien language. "Kalathi's ship, this is cargo vessel Prairie Runner. We hear you coming to help, hold on." The response came quickly and the translator struggled with it, but the meaning was clear. They were grateful, they were desperate, they were dying. Maria guided the Prairie Runner close to the alien medical ship. Up close she could see how dire the situation was. The ship's hull was covered in frost. The viewports were dark. This was a ship full of dead and dying people. "Ruth, get your team ready. We are going to dock and start evacuating whoever we can." "Captain, our ship can maybe hold 100 people if we pack them in tight," Ruth said. "Then we take 100, and then we make another trip, and another. We keep going until we have saved everyone or run out of time." While Ruth and her team prepared for docking, Maria sent another message. This one was not to the aliens. It was to every human ship within range. "This is Captain Maria Santos of the Prairie Runner. I am at coordinates Alpha 739 in the Cradle Zone. There is an alien fleet here, 200,000 souls dying from power failure. I am beginning rescue operations, but I need help. Any ship that can hear this, please respond. We need everyone." She did not know if anyone would come. The Cradle Zone was forbidden. Coming here meant breaking regulations. Most captains would not risk it. But she had to try. The Prairie Runner connected to the alien medical ship. Ruth and her team moved through the airlock into the alien vessel. What they found broke their hearts. The corridors were freezing cold. Aliens lay huddled together for warmth, their silver skin turning blue. Some were not moving. Others looked up with large eyes as the humans entered, wearing heated suits. "Get the living ones," Ruth ordered her team. "Prioritize the young and the injured. Move fast." They carried the aliens to the Prairie Runner. The creatures were light, with forearms and legs that bent in strange ways. Their skin was cold to the touch. Some of them whispered in their strange language, words the humans could not understand. Maria watched as her crew worked. 50 aliens brought across, 70, 90. The Prairie Runner was packed full, aliens lying in every available space. The life support systems were straining, but they were holding. "That is all we can take, Captain," Ruth said. "We are at maximum capacity. Then we make another trip. Get us disconnected and move to the next ship." But before they could undock, Tommy shouted from the communication station. "Captain, I am getting responses to your message. Multiple responses. How many?" 17 ships, Captain. "They are all coming." Maria felt tears in her eyes. 17 ships, miners, colonists, traders, even a military frigate, all of them dropping everything to come help complete strangers. "Tell them where we need them," Maria ordered. "Coordinate rescue operations. We are going to save these people." Over the next hour, the human ships arrived one by one. They were a strange collection, all different sizes and designs. A massive mining barge, normally used for hauling ore. A sleek scientific vessel. A colony transport that had been heading to a new world. 3 military frigates from the Earth Alliance Navy. Even a converted casino cruiser. its owner broadcasting that he was bringing medical supplies and heated blankets. The human ships spread out through the alien fleet, each one taking a vessel under their care. Some used docking tubes to evacuate people, others used cargo tethers to try to share power. The human engineers worked with desperate creativity, connecting systems that were never meant to work together. Maria moved the Prairie Runner to a third ship, then a fourth, ferrying aliens to safety. Her crew was exhausted, but they did not stop. There were still thousands of people in danger. On one of the trips, an alien approached Maria. It was tall, with silver skin marked with blue patterns. It wore what looked like a uniform. Through the translator, it spoke. "I am Commander Thexriel. You came." "You actually came?" Maria nodded. "You called for help." "Of course we came. But why?" "You do not know us. Your technology is far behind ours. You risk yourselves for strangers." Maria thought about how to explain it. "Because someone has to help," she finally said. "Because we heard you and we could not just ignore it. Because saving lives is more important than following rules." Thexriel was quiet for a moment. Then she placed one of her 4 hands on Maria's shoulder. "Thank you, Captain Santos. Your species, you are remarkable." "We are just doing what anyone should do," Maria said. But she knew that was not true. Not everyone would have come. Not everyone would have risked everything for strangers. But humans had come. 17 ships full of humans who decided that helping was more important than safety. Then the alarm started blaring. "Captain," Tommy shouted. "The quantum rift. It is changing." Maria ran to the bridge. On the display, she could see the massive tear in space that had trapped the alien fleet. It was pulsing, growing brighter. "What is happening?" she demanded. A voice came over the communication channel. It was Admiral James Chen from the military frigate Ian's Defiance. He was the highest-ranking officer in the rescue fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. The rift is collapsing. It is going to implode. We have maybe 30 minutes before it tears apart everything in the area. We need to get everyone out now." Maria looked at her displays. They had rescued maybe 20,000 aliens. That left 180,000 still trapped on dying ships deep in the rift's influence. "We cannot evacuate that many people in 30 minutes, she said. "I know," Admiral Chen replied. "That is why we are not evacuating them. We are moving the whole fleet. Every ship attached towing cables to an alien vessel. We are dragging them out of here." "Admiral, our ships are not designed for that kind of stress," Maria protested. "I know, Captain. But it is the only way. Now hook up and prepare to pull. We are not leaving anyone behind." Admiral James Chen had been drinking coffee in his office when the call came. Not the official distress call from the alien fleet. That would come through proper channels hours later. No, he got a direct message from Captain Maria Santos, a freighter captain he had served with 20 years ago. "Jim, I am in the cradle zone. There is an alien fleet dying here. 200,000 people. I need everyone you can send, please." Maria never asked for help unless things were truly desperate. James had stood up, left his coffee to grow cold, and started making calls. Within 15 minutes, the Ian's Defiance and 2 sister ships were moving at maximum speed toward the Forbidden Zone. Now, as he stood on his bridge watching the quantum rift pulse and shimmer, he wondered if they had enough ships. The alien vessels were massive, far larger than anything humanity had built. Moving them would require every bit of power and ingenuity they could muster. "All ships, listen carefully," James broadcast on the command channel. "We are going to perform a gravitational tow. Each human ship will attach magnetic grapples and towing cables to an alien vessel. We will use coordinated thrust to pull them out of the rift's influence zone. This will push our engines beyond their safety limits. Some of our ships will be damaged, but those people are counting on us." He paused, looking at the faces of his bridge crew. They were young, most of them. They had never faced anything like this, but they looked determined. "We are going to do something impossible today," James continued. "We are going to save an entire civilization. Let us get to work." The human ships moved into position. The massive mining barge Copper Mountain, normally used for hauling asteroids, attached its industrial grapples to the largest alien dreadnought. The colony ship New Dawn extended its structural tethers to a cluster of smaller vessels. Even the casino cruiser, the Lucky Star, contributed, using its surprisingly powerful engines to assist. Maria's Prairie Runner attached to the alien medical ship they had been evacuating. "We are connected, Admiral," she reported. "Ready to pull." "All ships report ready status," James ordered. One by one, the 17 human vessels confirmed they were locked onto alien ships and prepared to pull. "On my mark," James said. "All ships coordinated thrust in 3, 2, 1. Mark." The human ships fired their engines. The deck of the Defiance shuddered as the powerful fusion drives fought against the massive weight of the alien vessel they were towing. Alarms blared as the engines exceeded recommended thrust levels. "Engine temperature rising," his engineer reported. "We are at 120% of safe operating limits." "Noted," James said. "Continue pulling." On the screen, he could see the alien ships beginning to move. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, they were sliding away from the rift's influence. The human ships were like tiny tugboats trying to move ocean liners. It should not have worked. But it was working. "We are making progress," the navigation officer reported. 0.03 meters per second. "At this rate, we can get them clear in 18 minutes. "The rift will collapse in 25 minutes, the science officer added. "We have time, barely." James allowed himself a moment of hope. They were going to make it. Then the Copper Mountain's engines exploded. The massive mining barge was pulling 3 alien ships at once, using every bit of power its oversized industrial engines could produce. It was too much. The fusion containment failed and a brilliant white explosion lit up space. "Copper Mountain report." James shouted into the communication channel. Static. Then a weak voice, coughing. "This is Chief Engineer Nakamura. The main engines are gone. Hull breach on decks 4 through 7. We have casualties. We are venting atmosphere." "Evacuate your ship," James ordered. "All nearby vessels begin rescue operations." "Negative, Admiral," Nakamura replied. "We still have maneuvering thrusters." "We can still help. Your ship is crippled. You need to—" "We did not come all this way to give up now," Nakamura interrupted. "Those 3 alien ships we were pulling, they are drifting back toward the rift. Someone needs to keep them moving. We can do that with our thrusters." James wanted to order them to evacuate, but he looked at the display and saw the 3 alien ships slowly drifting back into danger. Without the Copper Mountain, they would not make it out in time. "Understood, Copper Mountain. Continue operations. All other ships, be advised we have reduced our safety margin. Increase pulling power by 10%. "Admiral, that will push our engines to 130%, his engineer protested. "I know. Do it anyway." The human ships increased their thrust. More alarms blared. The temperature readings climbed higher. On 2 of the military frigates, cooling systems began to fail. The deck of the Defiance was now vibrating constantly, the ship straining against the load. But the alien ships were moving faster now. On the Prairie Runner, Maria watched her engine displays with growing concern. The fusion reactor that powered her ship was old, held together with creative repairs and prayers. It was not designed for this kind of stress. "Captain, the containment field is fluctuating," Ruth said from engineering. "If we push any harder, we might lose it." "Can you keep it stable?" Maria asked. "Maybe." For a few more minutes, Maria looked at the alien medical ship they were towing. Through the viewports, she could see aliens pressed against the glass, watching the human ship struggle to save them. "Keep it stable. Ruth, we are not letting go." On the alien flagship Starlight Eternal, Commander Thexriel watched the human ships with amazement. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were small and poorly maintained. By all logic, they should not be able to move the Kalathi fleet, but they were doing it anyway. "Commander, I do not understand," Voreth said. "Their engines are failing. Their ships are being damaged. Why do they not save themselves?" "Because they are trying to save us," Thexriel said quietly. "They value our lives as much as their own." Beside her, a young Kalathi engineer named Sorix was watching the data streams from the human ships. "Commander, their engineering is fascinating. They are using techniques that should not work. Look at this one ship, the Prairie Runner. Its fusion reactor has been modified at least 30 times. It has parts from 6 different manufacturers. It should have exploded years ago, but it has not," Thexriel noted. "No, because they keep fixing it. They refuse to let it fail. It is like they see problems not as obstacles but as puzzles to solve." Thexriel thought about that. The Kalathi built perfect ships that lasted for centuries, but when those ships failed, the Kalathi often did not know how to fix them. They relied on their technology being flawless. These humans had imperfect technology, but they had learned to fix anything. To improvise. To refuse to give up. "Sorix, can we communicate with those human engineers?" Thexriel asked. "Yes, Commander. I have been monitoring their communication channels. I can translate. Do it. See if we can help them. Sorix opened a channel to the Prairie Runner. Human vessel, this is Engineer Sorix of the Kalathi fleet. We see your engines are under stress. Can we assist? There was a pause, then a gruff female voice responded. This is Ruth Park, Chief Engineer. You folks have power systems way more advanced than ours. If you have any tricks to share, I am listening. Your fusion containment is destabilizing, but if you route power through your secondary plasma manifolds, you can reduce the stress on the main containment field by approximately 15%. Huh, that might actually work. Give me a second. Thexriel watched as Sorix worked with the human engineer, sharing knowledge across the vast technological gap between their civilizations. It should not have been possible, but both engineers spoke the universal language of desperate problem-solving. It worked. Ruth's voice came back excited. Containment is stabilizing. You just saved our reactor. Thank you. You are saving our lives, Sorix replied. It is the least we can do. More Kalathi engineers began opening channels to the human ships, offering advice and assistance. The humans, in turn, shared their own improvised solutions. On the New Dawn, a human mechanic taught a Kalathi how to bypass a failed relay using spare parts. On the Defiance, a Kalathi scientist helped the human crew optimize their engine thrust. Two species working together, refusing to let each other fail. All ships status report, Admiral Chen called out. He had been listening to the cross-species cooperation with satisfaction. We are at 15 minutes to rift collapse, the science officer reported. Alien fleet is now 80% clear of the danger zone. 80%. But that meant 20% were still in danger. James looked at the tactical display. 5 alien ships, the largest dreadnoughts, were still deep in the rift's influence. They were so massive that even multiple human ships working together could barely move them. Those 5 ships will not make it out in time, the tactical officer said quietly. James studied the display. The officer was right. The physics did not work. Those ships were too large, too deep in the rift, and time was running out. But James had not come this far to leave anyone behind. All ships pulling those 5 dreadnoughts transfer all available power to engines. Life support, gravity, everything non-essential. Give me every bit of thrust you can. Admiral, if we do that, we will have no safety margin at all, his engineer protested. The engines will catastrophically fail. Then we will deal with that after we get those ships clear. To it. Across the fleet, human ships began shutting down their life support systems, redirecting power to their engines. The crews put on emergency suits. The ships went dark except for the engines, which burned brighter than ever. The 5 dreadnoughts began to move faster. On the Defiance, the main engine started making a grinding noise that no fusion drive should ever make. Smoke began filling the engine room. The temperature gauges were redlining. Admiral, the engine is going to explode in approximately 2 minutes, the engineer reported, remarkably calm given the circumstances. How far can we pull in 2 minutes? James asked. The navigation officer calculated quickly. Enough to get the alien ship clear of the danger zone, barely. Then we pull for 2 minutes. All hands prepare for catastrophic engine failure. Emergency evacuation procedures. The Defiance pulled. The ship shook like it was being torn apart. The grinding noise became a scream. Sparks flew from control panels, but the alien dreadnought moved. 100 meters from the safe zone, the navigator counted down. 50 meters, 25-10, clear. The ship is clear. All ships release towing cables and get to minimum safe distance. James ordered. Move, move, move. The human ships released their cargo and scattered, engines failing, systems crashing but alive. The alien fleet drifted in space, now safely away from the rift. Behind them, the quantum rift collapsed. It imploded with a flash of purple-white light, releasing a shockwave that rocked the ships. But they were far enough away. The wave passed over them, and then the rift was gone, leaving only normal space. For a moment, there was silence. Then the communication channels erupted with cheers and shouts of relief, human and alien voices celebrating together. Commander Thexriel stood on her bridge, looking at the human ships. 2 of them were crippled. All of them were damaged. They had pushed themselves beyond their limits. To save people they had never met. Open a channel to Admiral Chen, she ordered. When the channel connected, she spoke carefully, making sure the translator caught every word. Admiral Chen, on behalf of the Kalathi people, I thank you. You risked everything to save us. Why? There was a pause. Then the Admiral's voice came back, calm and certain. Because someone has to, Commander. Because we could not live with ourselves if we did not try. Because saving lives is more important than our own safety. Texriel thought about those words. The Kalathi were an old civilization, wise and advanced, but she wondered if they had forgotten something these young humans still knew. How to be brave. How to sacrifice. How to help without counting the cost. The celebration lasted exactly 12 minutes. Then reality set in. Admiral James Chen stood on the damaged bridge of the Defiance looking at damage reports. 2 human ships were crippled beyond immediate repair. 5 more had serious damage. The Copper Mountain was barely holding together, its crew working in sealed sections while the rest of the ship vented into space. 11 people were dead from the engine explosion. 43 more were injured, but 200,000 aliens were alive. That was what mattered. Admiral, we have a problem, the science officer said. Her name was Lieutenant Sarah Kim, and she had been monitoring the quantum rift carefully. The rift is gone, but it left behind some kind of spatial instability. The region is still dangerous. How dangerous? James asked. I am detecting quantum fluctuations in the area. Small ones, but growing. If they continue to grow, they could create new rifts. The area is not safe yet. James looked at the tactical display. The Kalathi fleet was drifting, powerless. Some ships had a bit of emergency power left, but most were still dark. They could not move under their own power. How long before the area becomes dangerous again? He asked. Unknown, Admiral. Could be hours. Could be days. But we should move the fleet to a safer location as soon as possible. Agreed. Begin planning for Admiral. The communications officer interrupted. I am getting priority alerts from multiple Kalathi ships. Medical emergencies. They have people dying from cold exposure and oxygen deprivation. Even though we got them out of the rift, they still do not have life support. James closed his eyes. Of course, they had moved the ships, but the ships were still dead. The people inside were still dying, just slower now. Contact Commander Texriel. We need to coordinate. Our human ships have limited space and resources, but we need to figure out how to keep her people alive. The channel opened, and Commander Texriel's face appeared on the screen. She looked exhausted but determined. Admiral Chen, my engineers report that we still have critical power failures across the fleet. We have bought time but not survival. We need to restore power to our ships, and we do not know how. Commander, our engineers are already working on it. We are going to jury-rig power connections between our ships and yours. It will not be elegant, but it will work. Admiral, your ships are already damaged from pulling us out. You cannot afford to give us your power. James smiled slightly. Commander, we did not come all this way to let you freeze now. We will find a way. Over the next hours, human engineers performed miracles. They connected human fusion reactors to alien power grids using improvised cables and adapters. They created power routing systems using spare parts and duct tape. It should not have worked. The technologies were completely incompatible, but it worked anyway, because the humans refused to let it fail. On the Kalathi medical ship Gentle Healer, Engineer Sorix worked alongside a human engineer named Mac Thompson. Mac was a big man with scarred hands and a cheerful attitude despite the desperate situation. Okay, so your power system uses some kind of antimatter reaction, right? Mac said, studying the alien machinery. And ours uses basic fusion. They are nothing alike. Correct, Sorix said. I do not see how we can connect them. Well, both systems produce electricity in the end, right? Just at different voltages and frequencies. So we need a converter. A really big, complicated converter that does not exist and we do not have time to build. Sorix felt her hope sinking. Then it is impossible. Nah. Impossible just means we have not figured it out yet. Mac pulled out a datapad and started sketching. Look, we cannot match your system perfectly, but we do not need perfect. We just need good enough. We take our fusion output, run it through a series of step-up transformers to get the voltage right, then use a frequency modulator to match your power grid's cycle. It will be inefficient and unstable, but it will give you about 30% power. Enough for life support and basic systems. Sorix looked at the sketch. It was crude, inelegant, and violated several principles of proper engineering. This should not work, she said. You are probably right. But let us try anyway. They spent the next 2 hours building the converter. They used parts from both ships, components that were never meant to work together. Mac welded connections by hand, working with tools that looked ancient compared to Kalathi technology. Sorix calculated power flows and adjusted settings, amazed at how the humans simply ignored problems that seemed impossible. "Why do you not give up when things seem impossible?" Sorix asked as they worked. Mac paused in his welding. "Because impossible is just an opinion. Look, maybe this converter has a 99% chance of failing, but that means it has a 1% chance of working. And if we do not try, it has a 0% chance. 1 is better than 0. That is not logical." "Sure it is. It is just optimistic logic," Mac grinned. "Besides, engineers do not believe in impossible. We just believe in problems we have not solved yet." They finished the converter and connected it to the alien power system. Mac hit the activation switch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights flickered on. Dim but steady. The heating system started up. The air recyclers began to hum. "We did it," Sorix exclaimed. "It worked." "Of course it worked," Mac said. "I told you." "Impossible just means we have not figured it out yet. Now let us go help the next ship." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Human engineers worked with Kalathi engineers, combining advanced alien knowledge with human improvisation. More ships came online. More lives were saved. But not everyone could be saved so easily. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Chen received a report that made his blood run cold. "Admiral, we have a major problem," Lieutenant Kim said. "Remember those quantum fluctuations I mentioned? They are growing faster than I calculated. Much faster. How much time do we have?" "Hours at most." "And Admiral, the fluctuations are centered on the 5 dreadnoughts we pulled out last, the ones that were deepest in the rift. They are still contaminated with quantum energy. If we do not move them soon, they will trigger a chain reaction that could create a rift even bigger than the first one." James felt his stomach drop. "Can we move them?" "Not with our damaged ships, sir. We used everything we had to pull them out the first time. Our engines cannot take another pull like that. What if we just evacuate the dreadnoughts and leave them behind? Each dreadnought holds approximately 30,000 people, sir. Even if we worked at maximum speed, we could not evacuate them all before the new rift forms. 150,000 people." James looked at the numbers, trying to find a solution that did not exist. "How long before the rift forms?" he asked. 4 hours, sir. Maybe 5. And if we tried to pull the dreadnoughts again, our ships would not survive it, sir. The engines would explode. We would lose all the human vessels and their crews." James looked at the faces of his bridge crew. They were young. Most of them had families back home, parents, children, people who loved them. He could order them to safety. They had done enough. No one could ask more of them. But then he thought about the 150,000 aliens on those dreadnoughts, mothers, fathers, children, people, with families who loved them too. He made his decision. "Contact Captain Santos and the other ship commanders. Tell them we are going back in." "Admiral, our ships cannot survive another pull," the engineer protested. "I know, but we are not going to pull this time. We are going to push, and we are going to use a trick I learned from a very brave mining ship crew." He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. I am going to outline a plan that is dangerous and probably crazy, but it is the only chance to save those 150,000 people on the dreadnoughts. I need volunteers. If you want to opt out, no one will think less of you. You have already done more than anyone could ask." He paused, waiting for someone to back out. No one did. "All right then. Here is what we are going to do. We are going to position ourselves behind the 5 dreadnoughts. We are going to overload our fusion reactors to maximum. Then we are going to detonate them in a controlled sequence. The explosions will provide thrust, pushing the dreadnoughts away from the quantum fluctuation zone. We will time it so we have just enough seconds to evacuate to escape pods before the reactors blow." There was silence on the channel. Then Captain Maria Santos spoke up. "Admiral, if I understand correctly, you are proposing we blow up our own ships." "That is correct, Captain." "Okay, I am in. The Prairie Runner has been ready to explode for 10 years anyway. Might as well make it count." One by one, the other captains volunteered. The casino cruiser Lucky Star, the colony ship New Dawn, the damaged Copper Mountain, the military frigates. Every human ship that could still move volunteered to sacrifice itself. "Commander Thexriel, are you hearing this?" James asked on a private channel. "Yes, Admiral," the alien commander replied. Her voice was shaking. "You cannot do this. You cannot destroy your ships for us. We will evacuate who we can and accept the losses." With respect, Commander, we did not come this far to accept losses. We are finishing what we started. Besides, ships can be rebuilt. People cannot. But your crews will evacuate in time. We are good at last-second escapes. It is a human specialty. Admiral Chen, why? Why sacrifice so much for us? James thought about his answer. Because 200 years ago, humanity nearly went extinct. We lost billions of people to an AI war. We were scattered, broken, desperate, and we survived only because we learned to work together, to sacrifice for each other, to never leave anyone behind. That is who we are now. We are people who help, even if it costs us everything. The human ships moved into position behind the 5 dreadnoughts. Engineers began preparing the fusion reactors for controlled overload. It was delicate work. Too much power and the explosion would destroy the dreadnoughts along with the human ships. Too little and the push would not be enough. On the Prairie Runner, Maria Santos walked through her ship one last time. She touched the walls, remembering 3 years of hauling cargo through lonely space. The ship had been her home, and now she was going to destroy it. Ruth joined her on the bridge. Reactor is ready, Captain. Set to overload in 7 minutes. We have 6 minutes to get to the escape pods. 1 minute of safety margin. I like it. Maria smiled sadly. Ruth, it has been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine, Captain. Now let us go save 150,000 more lives. All across the human fleet, crews were evacuating to escape pods. They took only what they could carry. Everything else would be left behind. All ships report ready status, Admiral Chen broadcast. One by one, the ships confirmed. Reactors overloading. Crews evacuated. Ready to detonate. James looked at his own bridge crew. They were already moving toward the escape pods. He would be the last one off, as tradition demanded. All ships begin countdown. 30 seconds to detonation. Get your people clear. James ran through the corridors of the Defiance toward the escape pod. Behind him, the bridge computers were counting down. 20 seconds, 15, 10. He reached the escape pod and jumped inside. The door sealed. The pod launched just as the counter hit 0. The human ships exploded in perfect sequence one after another. The fusion reactors detonated, releasing massive amounts of energy. The explosions pushed against the 5 dreadnoughts, shoving them away from the quantum fluctuation zone. It was the most expensive, desperate, beautiful act of sacrifice anyone had ever seen. The escape pods scattered through space, carrying the human crews to safety. Behind them, the twisted wreckage of their ships tumbled through the void. But the 5 dreadnoughts were moving. They were safe. 3 weeks after the rescue, Commander Thexriel stood in the Grand Council chamber on the Kalathi homeworld. The chamber was ancient, its walls carved from blue crystal that had witnessed 3,000 years of Kalathi history. 12 council members sat in a circle around her, their silver faces impassive. She had just finished her report. The rescue, the quantum rift. The humans. High Counselor Vexith, the eldest of the council, spoke first. His voice was measured and careful. Commander Thexriel, your report is most unusual. You claim that a species we have never encountered, using primitive technology, saved our entire expeditionary fleet. That is correct, High Counselor. And in doing so, they destroyed many of their own ships, damaged their fleet significantly. For strangers, yes, High Counselor. Another counselor, Mirax, leaned forward. What do we know about these humans? Thexriel pulled up data on the chamber's display. They are a young species. They achieved spaceflight only 300 years ago. Their technology is approximately 2,000 years behind ours. They have a single homeworld called Earth, with 14 colonies scattered across nearby systems. Total population is approximately 20 billion. 20 billion, Vexith mused. We have 12 billion on our homeworld alone. They are a small civilization. Small but determined, Thexriel said. 200 years ago, they nearly went extinct. An artificial intelligence system they created turned against them. The AI war killed 8 billion humans in 5 years. They survived only through cooperation and sacrifice. Those values define their culture now. Counselor Mirax studied the data. They still use fusion power. We abandoned that technology 4,000 years ago. How could such primitive ships help you? Thexriel had expected this question, because their technology is simple and robust. The quantum rift drained our advanced antimatter systems, but their basic fusion reactors were less affected, and because their engineers have learned to improvise, they see every problem as solvable. She pulled up more images. Human engineers working with Kalathi crews. makeshift power converters, jury-rigged systems that should not work but did. They do not have our advanced knowledge, Thexriel continued, but they have something we may have lost. They have the willingness to try anything, risk everything, to save lives. They value people over protocol. You admire them, Vexith observed. I do, High Counselor. They gave us everything without asking for anything in return. A younger counselor named Sorath spoke up. What do they want from us now? Surely they expect payment, technology transfer, resources. They asked for nothing, Counselor. Admiral Chen only requested that we remember them as friends. The council was silent, processing this information. Finally, Counselor Mirak spoke again. This presents us with an unprecedented situation. We have a debt of honor to this human species. 200,000 Kalathi lives were saved. How do we repay such a debt? Furthermore, Vexith added, this is first contact with a new species. Under Galactic Union protocols, we must determine if they are suitable for membership in the greater galactic community. Thexriel had been thinking about this for 3 weeks. She had a proposal, but she knew it would be controversial. High Counselor, I believe we should offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Union, immediately, without the standard prerequisite evaluations. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Vexith raised one hand for silence. Commander, you know the protocols. A species must demonstrate technological sophistication, political stability, cultural maturity, and peaceful intentions. The evaluation process takes decades. You're suggesting we skip all of that? Yes, High Counselor. Because humanity has already demonstrated what matters most. They have shown compassion, courage, the willingness to sacrifice for others. These are the values the Galactic Union was founded upon. Humanity embodies those values more than species who have passed all 47 prerequisite criteria. Engineer Sorix, who had accompanied Thexriel to the council, stepped forward. High Counselor, may I speak? Vexith nodded. You were there. Your perspective is valued. I worked with human engineers during the rescue, Sorix said. I learned more from them in 3 days than I learned in years at the academy. Not about technology, but about thinking. They see problems differently than we do. When a Kalathi engineer encounters an impossible problem, we accept that it is impossible. When a human engineer encounters an impossible problem, they say, I have not figured it out yet. That difference in thinking saved us. She pulled up recordings she had taken. Mac Thompson welding together incompatible systems. Ruth Park bypassing failed relays with spare parts. Human engineers laughing while they worked even as their ships were dying. They were not afraid, Sorix said. They were not intimidated by our advanced technology. They just saw people who needed help and they helped. Every human I met had that same attitude. Determination, optimism, refusal to give up. Counselor Sorath watched the recordings with interest. They seem almost reckless. They take risks that no Kalathi would take. They calculate the risks differently, Thexriel said. They weigh the value of lives saved against the cost of helping. And they always choose to help. The council debated for hours. Some argued that humanity was too young, too primitive, too reckless. Others argued that humanity had proven themselves in the most important way possible. Finally, High Counselor Vexith called for a vote. All in favor of offering humanity full membership in the Galactic Union, with all rights and privileges thereof. 12 hands rose. The vote was unanimous. It is decided, Vexith declared. Commander Thexriel, you will lead a delegation to Earth. You will deliver our offer in person. The Kalathi people are proud to call humanity our friends. On Earth, 3 weeks after the rescue, Captain Maria Santos sat in a small bar near the Houston spaceport. She was drinking whiskey, trying not to think about the prairie runner drifting in pieces through space. Ruth sat beside her, also drinking. They are calling us heroes, Ruth said. Did you see the news? They are making documentaries about the rescue. We just did what needed to be done, Maria said. We destroyed 17 ships and lost 11 people. Some politicians are calling it a disaster. They say we should have waited for proper authorization. Maria took another drink. Those politicians would have let 200,000 people die while they debated protocols. I know. But still, we are going to face inquiries, investigations, maybe even courts-martial for violating the cradle zone restriction. Before Maria could respond, the bar's television caught her attention. The news was showing something unusual. A Kalathi ship had just entered Earth orbit. It was requesting permission to land. What are they doing here? Ruth wondered. I guess we are about to find out. 6 hours later, Maria stood in the Earth Alliance Assembly Hall in Geneva. She was still wearing her civilian clothes, not having expected to be summoned to such an important place. Beside her stood Admiral Chen, Ruth, and several other captains who had participated in the rescue. The hall was full. Earth Alliance officials, military officers, diplomats, news cameras. Everyone wanted to see first contact. Commander Thexriel entered the hall, accompanied by Engineer Sorix and a delegation of Calathi officials. They moved gracefully on their 4 legs, their silver skin gleaming under the lights. The room fell silent. Thexriel approached the podium. A translator device rendered her words into human languages. People of Earth, I am Commander Thexriel of the Calathi Expeditionary Fleet. 3 weeks ago, when my people were dying in the darkness of space, you came. You risked everything to save us. You asked for nothing in return. Today, the Calathi High Council has asked me to offer you something in return. She paused, letting the translator catch up. The Calathi are members of the Galactic Union, an alliance of 43 civilizations spanning this region of the galaxy. Today, by unanimous vote, the High Council has decided to sponsor humanity for immediate full membership in the Galactic Union. You will have access to our technology, our trade networks, our defensive agreements. You will be welcome on all Galactic Union worlds. You will be our equals. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Maria felt her heart racing. This was beyond anything she had imagined. Furthermore, Thexriel continued, the Calathi offer a formal alliance with humanity. We will help you rebuild your fleet. We will share our knowledge, not because we owe you a debt, though we do, but because we believe humanity has something important to teach the galaxy. You have shown us that advancement is not only measured in technology, it is measured in character, in courage, in the willingness to help others even at great cost. Thexriel's eyes found Maria in the crowd. Captain Santos, you told me that you came because someone has to. Those words have resonated throughout the Galactic Union. Many civilizations have forgotten that principle. You reminded us. She turned back to address the full assembly. Humanity is young. Your technology is primitive. But your spirit is extraordinary. The galaxy needs that spirit. We need people who refuse to accept impossible, who see problems as opportunities, who value lives above rules. The Earth Alliance Secretary General stepped forward. She was an elderly woman named Dr. Elizabeth Okonkwo, who had led humanity through the recovery from the AI war. Commander Thexriel, on behalf of humanity, I accept your generous offer. We are honored to join the Galactic Union. We are proud to call the Calathi our friends. The 2 leaders shook hands. Or rather, Dr. Okonkwo shook one of Thexriel's 4 hands. Cameras flashed. History was being made. After the ceremony, Thexriel found Maria in the crowded reception hall. Captain Santos, may I speak with you privately? Maria nodded and they moved to a quieter corner. Ruth and Sorix joined them, the 2 engineers having become friends during the rescue. Captain, there is something I need to tell you, Thexriel said. Something the High Council is keeping quiet for now until we understand it better. What is it? Maria asked. We analyzed the cradle zone after the rescue. We wanted to understand why the quantum rift formed there. Our scientists discovered something in the ancient records. Something important. Thexriel pulled up a holographic display. It showed star charts, genetic data, archaeological findings. 50,000 years ago, the cradle zone was home to a highly advanced civilization. They called themselves the Architects. They were the most technologically sophisticated species the galaxy has ever known. And then they vanished. No one knows what happened to them. What does this have to do with humans? Maria asked. We compared architect genetic markers from archaeological samples to the genetic profiles we took during the rescue. Captain, humans share significant genetic markers with the architects, more than can be explained by coincidence or convergent evolution. Maria felt her mind reeling. You are saying humans are descended from these architects? We believe so. The evidence suggests that a small group of architects survived whatever catastrophe destroyed their civilization. They fled to a remote world at the edge of the cradle zone, a world called Earth. Over 50,000 years isolated from the rest of the galaxy, they evolved into humanity. But how? Why? Ruth asked. We do not know. Perhaps they deliberately wanted to start over. to build a new civilization without the problems that destroyed the old one. Perhaps they simply forgot who they were over the millennia. But the implications are profound. Sorek spoke up. The architects uplifted the Kalathi 50,000 years ago. They gave us technology, knowledge, and then they disappeared. If humans are descended from the architects, then you are our ancient benefactors. You helped us once, long ago, and now 50,000 years later we helped you. Maria thought about this. It was too big to fully comprehend. Humanity was not just a young species. They were the descendants of the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. Does this change anything? Maria asked. I mean, we are still the same people. We still nearly went extinct 200 years ago. We still use primitive fusion drives. It changes nothing and everything, Thexriel said. You are still you, but now we understand where your unusual qualities come from. Your refusal to accept limits, your innovative thinking, your willingness to sacrifice for others. These are not just human traits. They are architect traits, the qualities that made them the greatest civilization in galactic history, and the qualities that maybe destroyed them too, Maria noted. Perhaps, but we believe you have learned from their mistakes. You nearly destroyed yourselves with the AI war, but you survived and grew stronger. You understand the value of restraint and cooperation now. You are what the architects might have become if they had been wiser. Thexriel placed one hand on Maria's shoulder. Captain, the architects saved the Kalathi 50,000 years ago. Today their descendants saved us again. I think you are continuing a family tradition. Maria smiled. I guess we are just continuing what our ancestors started. Helping people, making friends, refusing to leave anyone behind. The galaxy is a better place because of that tradition, Thexriel said. Welcome home, humans. Welcome to the stars. Your ancestors once explored this galaxy. Now you will explore it again, and we will be honored to explore it with you. 6 months later, the first joint human Kalathi exploration vessel launched from Earth orbit. It was called the Prairie Runner 2, named after Maria's destroyed ship. The new ship combined human and Kalathi technology, powered by both fusion and antimatter. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge looking out at the stars. Beside her, Commander Thexriel studied the navigation charts. Human and Kalathi crew members worked together at the stations. Two species united in purpose. Ready to explore unknown space, Captain? Thexriel asked. Ready, Commander. Let us see what is out there. The Prairie Runner 2 engaged its engines and jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, Earth and the Kalathi homeworld were just 2 points of light among billions. Ahead of them, the galaxy waited. Humanity had descended from the stars to save the Kalathi. Now they were ascending again, returning to their place among the civilizations of the galaxy, not as conquerors or rulers, but as friends and helpers, as people who refused to leave anyone behind. It was, Maria thought, the best possible way to return home.